Hey, every morning I'll come and I'll do just like this. I'll stand here for 5 minutes or so and I'll just look around. I can pick things out if something's out of the ordinary. When you look at fish and are around them long enough, you can tell just by looking at them almost instantly if something's wrong. And this is probably my biggest responsibility of all. There are 7 blacktip reef sharks, 4 males and 3 females. There are 4 bonnet heads, 1 male and 3 females of those. And we also have the 2 zebra sharks. They're both girls. I've been training all of them actually, but in particular the zebra sharks. And they're named Nori and Sushi. In all the training that we do is so that we can better take care of the animals. It helps us to visually inspect them, to observe them close up. We're able to feed them more consistently. We can give them medications, things like that. And once you get the initial behaviors learned, you can move on further with it so that you can actually get them to let you weigh them. Or the alternative to that is capturing the animal, subduing it, restraining it, completely stressing it out, and going that route, which is what we don't want because it's bad for the animal, it's bad for us because we can get hurt, the animal can get hurt, the animal gets stressed out, less likely to come back to you to do it again. When you can train an animal and condition an animal to do things willingly, it's a win-win. The zebra sharks, because they're pretty placid, they're slow, more easygoing. They're not pelagic sharks, which means they can lay on the bottom. They don't have to keep swimming to breathe, which makes it easier to stop them. At the time, the 2 zebra sharks that I have out there now were in quarantine. Whenever they were moved on exhibit, they were exhibiting these weird behaviors. They were doing a lot of weird stuff, and they were getting caught in the rock work, and people would have to dive in and go pull them out. When I got here, Alan told me, he said, it's up to you. If you want to put the zebra sharks on exhibit, you can. If you want to surplus them to another institution, we can do that too. And at the time, they'd been back there, I think, for about a year in the quarantine building. I was pretty hell-bent on getting them on exhibit. I just love them. I think they're just so pretty and so just, I don't know, I think they're good ambassadors for sharks, for people to see and learn about. And I really wanted to get them on exhibit. I was determined to find a way to do it so that the things that were happening before would not happen again. And I thought that I could do that through behavioral management. I think it was just that their brains weren't challenged enough. They weren't using all of their senses. I'll target the zebra sharks first, right here with the target, just a couple of times to get their vitamins in them. What I started doing was just putting it in the water with them and feeding them. At first they were a little afraid of it. They'd kind of get close to it and then they'd start to swim off. So I would get them as close as I could to it and give them food. And then I just slowly started decreasing the gap in between the target and the food they were getting until they were simultaneous, until they were touching the target and getting the food at the same exact time. And then eventually they start to associate the target with the food, and they make a direct association. Eventually they were coming to the target to get food. Another big part of this too was to try to get them, because they're bottom-dwelling sharks, that tank is 27 feet deep. So the original plan was to teach them this target so that they would know that if they saw it, to come to it to eat, because they're so far down. Otherwise they might be completely oblivious to the fact that there's food up there. So that was the original goal, was how do we get these bottom-dwelling sharks to come 27 feet up to eat? Since I moved them on exhibit, they've never done anything that was described to me from the past at all. I can't say with 100% certainty that it's because of the training. I can say that it's probably has something to do with it, but I couldn't say with 100% certainty that it does. I thought, hey, now that they know the target, what else can I teach them with this? So I said, well, what if they'll start letting me handle them? So I slowly started using the target and just gently touching them. At first they didn't like being touched at all. Like I'd touch them and they'd swim off. Just a little bit more gradually over time, a little bit more. As they let me do more to them and touch them more, I would slowly start like reaching my arms around them, and I started slowing down their swimming. Like as they'd swim by, I'd actually slow them down and then let them go, to the point where I was able to stop them completely. And all of this is done with positive reinforcement, by the way, positive reinforcement being food. Whenever they would let me do something, any opportunity I got, I would give them food for it. so that they associated it with something good. To them, food is good. Until they would just let me hold them. All right, you want to come over and help me measure them real quick? Take it all the way to the tip of the end of the tail on the top. Easy. Let me get my arm around it. Ready? Yep. Hang on. Okay. Yeah, stretch your tail out straight. There you go. What was it? Yeah. 5 feet 6 inches? That's nori. Thanks, nori. And we'll do sushi. Put it under my arm. There we go. Okay. What do you got? Okay. Yep. Yep. What is it? 5 feet 8 inches. 5 feet 8 inches is sushi. All right, here we go. Let's try this again, all right? Maybe your sister or your friend won't come over and bother us. Fish. Hang on, easy. Easy. I got her. You can let go. Yep. I started thinking, well, what if they would let me roll them over? Because in order to take blood from them, we have to, well, we don't have to. There's another spot on the dorsal surface that we could take blood from, but the best way to take blood is via the tail from underneath, where there's a vein that we can get to. So I started thinking, well, what if they'll let me roll them over? After slowly doing this to them, they let me roll them over, and they tolerate it. What I'll do is I'll hold them, and then I'll physically or slowly just gently roll them over. So now they'll let me hold them and hug them straight up and down. So at that point, we can also measure them, so we can visually inspect them, both their dorsal and ventral sides, really well. Get it? There you go. Alright, so that's how we would take blood. Just reach underneath her tail, lift it high now. There you go, not that high, a little lower. Perfect. See how relaxed she is? Yeah. She feels really relaxed to you, right? Keep holding her. All right, let go. Good job. So that's how we would take blood from them. On 3, ready? 1, 2, 3. I started lifting them up out of the water, just a couple of seconds at a time. Like I started with like 2 seconds, and I increased it to 4, and then 6, and then 8. And I just did this gradually, and I'd give them food every time. So now we can lift them like all the way out of the water and weigh them, and they just lay there. On 3, 1, 2, 3. What I'll do is I'll weigh myself on the scale, and I'll zero it, and then I'll pick them up out of the water, stand up, and step back onto the scale, and it'll weigh the difference. Ready to put her back? Good. I always said, you know, I wanted to be a marine biologist, I want to be a veterinarian. The usual, you know, kid jobs that people want to do. And I grew up surfing, so I was always around the ocean. Always had a very heavy respect, you know, for ocean and wildlife and stuff. As I got older, I guess it really hit me, you know, that it's really what I wanted to do with my life. I was always fascinated with marine life. There's no question about that. You know, even surfing all the time, I was always, you know, what's under me. But it was always a healthy respect and not like a fear or anything. It was just something I was always interested in. Yep, I love working with the sharks. I love the fish. I'm perfectly content. I don't have like expectations of training killer whales or anything like that. I'm happy. Those are my babies.